Oh my goodness, it is time. It is time for campaign sectarian conflicts to begin. It's been far too long since we've had an AI only campaign, I think, right? Let's make sure the volume's all good. The sound looks to be good on my Streamlabs. But this isn't part one, this is part zero. What you're tuning in for right now is part zero. This is going over all of the various customizations that have been submitted into this campaign by the various players. I haven't taken count of how many there were, but this is really just to, give each one a little bit of time to see what they're about. And read some of the national idea localizations to give them a little bit more flavor. So I'm gonna look through each one and just dip my toes in, see what their pond, their water is like, so to say. So of course we're gonna do my nations, we're gonna do Maki's nations, we're gonna do Kraven's nations, we're gonna do Akamatsu's nations, all of them, and. Well, I have an Excel sheet that, everyone in the campaign has seen. So I'm going to go in player order, starting with me, and then it's Nomane Yayoi, and then it's Maki, Kravens, Pedro, Viri, Masanori, Q9626, Pimenta, Sekan, Cyan, Exfer, Senor Mango, and then Duck. So then, without further ado, let's get this on. Again, there will be no progression of years during this entire thing. It is purely just looking at what these nations are about. I'm not going to read all of the national ideas for each one, but I'm going to read a couple. So, for the first one that I made Nanzhao. And Nanzhao is based on the historical kingdom of Nanzhao. And it's based on the mountains. It's got a defensive mentality and a kind of a moving people around. So the first national idea is advisor cost discount, and it says interpretation of Buddhism. Nanzhao is a place where several groups converse about Buddhism amidst the overarching theme of Azhali Buddhism. From tantras to pious practices to literary debates, we must encourage these conversations if we want to continue having a lively court. And then the second one is in the shadows of the hills. Yunnan and its surrounding provinces are home to several hills and mountains that house powerful garrisons and defensive works. Yet when Nanzhao was being created, we were able to move with ease thanks to the valleys. Such is how our military operates, and that gives plus 15% movement speed. Again, I'm only doing a couple national ideas per nation so that this video doesn't end up taking like an hour and a half to get through every single one. I won't be doing vanilla nations either, so I won't be doing like the Timurids or Isfahan. These are only player-created nations. So my next one is Hanzhao. Hanzhao is based off of the historical state of Hanzhao that transitioned later into later Zhao. It's more of a militaristic state. It's an empire rank. It's got +1 military tradition, +1 army tradition in its traditions, and -15% core creation cost. First national idea is under the cover of fire and smoke. The War of the Eight Princes provided the catalyst for the decline of the Jin dynasty, and as they declined, we rose up to take power under the guidance of Liu Yuan. Benevolence to our people, no mercy for our dishonorable enemies. Unjustified demands, -30%. And then second one is ally the agrarian lords. The commoners that work the fields are led by a variety of people whose problems often went unheard by the lofty nobles of before. But Liu Yuan and his descendants know exactly what the common people need and want. They will be crucial allies for us. Manpower recovery speed +15%. And that's about it for Hanzhao. Northern China is going to be ruled by them. And then we have Nanyue, which is based on the historical kingdom of Nanyue before the Qin dynasty unified China. They get +15% naval force limit and +25% manpower in provinces of the same cultural group. First national idea is plus 10% trade efficiency, growing southern trade. Links between our people and the northerners are always in place, but thanks to the formalization of our state under the leadership of the Zhao dynasty, trade links in particular are becoming stronger and more profitable. And then the second one is network of local chiefs. The tropical environment that we have conquered and taken for ourselves is vast and without proper communication at times, meaning that decentralized governance is part of what we must contend with. Working with local chiefs and leaders is what we must do. Monthly autonomy change minus 0.05. And that's it for Nanyue. They're aimed at southern China. The next one I have is Karahitai. Karahitai gets a minus 20% cavalry cost and then plus 30% cavalry to infantry ratio. The first NI is about integrate with locals. Driven away from our home further east, we remnants of the Liao dynasty must learn the language and customs of the local people we now rule over. It won't be easy learning such foreign ways, but we are dedicated to doing so for our survival. That's monthly autonomy change, minus 0.05. And then, like water spreading forth. Unbound by the shackles put on our kin further east by the Jurchens, we are free to exploit the land around us as we please. Through organizing new settlements and using robust administrative methods, we will tame all the land we see around us. Colonist +1. So they have Central Asia to contend with, and the Timurids are right by. The next one I have is Senher-Ord. Basically, the Oirats moving to the west, and they are right on the border of the eastern border of the Black Sea. They get minus 20% cavalry cost in their traditions and plus 10% movement speed. Their first national idea is steady trickle of kin. Our fellow Oirats from the east are slowly trickling into our domain, ensuring that we have a strong supply of capable warriors and civilians. Introducing them to a different region and way of life won't be easy, but it will be beneficial later on. And then, to bridge different lifestyles. Nomadic herders and settled civilians both are present in varying amounts across the new lands of the Oirats, yet neither can live completely without the other. By integrating and understanding both lifestyles, we will go forth unburdened. Global settler increase plus 15. The last of my main submissions is Black Horde. Black Horde gets plus 20% cavalry combat ability and minus 10% core creation cost. Their first national idea is Tumans of the Black Horde. Despite being far from our homeland of Mongolia, we must make use of what we can and bring through mighty steeds and clans from the steppe. Black Horde Tumans will be no less mighty than those of the great Mongol Empire of the past. The second national idea is ready for religious war. Zealous Muslims have led armies against us in the hopes that their armies would be inspired by war on religious grounds. We will not back down from these terms of war. Instead, we will take up our bows and muskets and never back down. That's war score cost versus other religions minus 12.5%. And then my nation in the special America slot is Yeni Mentesi. It is basically an offshoot of Mentesi going to the New World. So their national idea, their traditions are that they can raid coasts, and they have no stability loss on monarch death. Their first national idea is from the shallow shores. It has been quite some time since we landed here to set up a new base of operations for the Mentesi Beylik, but contact with the homeland has been lost, unfortunately. The time has come to build ourselves up from the ground up, first to survive. And then the second national... that gives a +1 global possible number of buildings. And then the second national idea is Mentesid Adaptation. The older sailors and ships of Yeni Mentesi are not quite used to these conditions around these new islands, yet our new designs and young sailors are quickly adapting as the years go by. No wave or storm will hold our fleets back. And that gives global naval engagement modifier plus 20%. And that's it for my submissions. The next one in line is Paradox Interactive, courtesy of No Money Yayoi. So, Yayoi's theme, from what I know, is a very defensive-oriented nation, a land of fortresses, if one is to go in depth with it. And go in depth with it he did. For custom nations that did not do localization for their national ideas, I'll go through about 3 or 4 of them and just say the modifiers they give. And since I can go through them a little bit quicker than other nations, we're dipping our toes in the waters of these nations. We're not trying to go into every single aspect of them. If you want to go into every single aspect of the nation, you can ask that in the campaign discussion chat in my server, linked down below, or you can look at the custom nation submission that people put forth in this proper channel. So, Yayoi put forth in the traditions minus 15% garrison, fort maintenance. So their forts are cheaper, and then plus 1.5% or plus 1.5 attrition for enemies. So enemies are going to have a harder time taking any land. And then their first national idea is plus 20% for defense. Those siege ticks are going to take longer to push through. They got plus 40% garrison size, so each fortification is going to have just a lot more men defending it. Excuse me. And then their third national idea is military tactics plus 0.08, which, tactics is really fucking good modifier. It just flat tactics. It's hard to beat that. And then their fourth national idea is plus 10% governing capacity. So if they're successful in this region, they will be able to, they'll be able to govern a lot. Simple as that. They already have a huge Oh no, that's right. Yayoi did the stateless society, so they're gonna need that national idea, actually. Alright. Okay. And then the next person on the list is Maki with the Shahamanas. So the Shahamanas right here, they are one of the Rajputs, and they are aimed at using the special Rajput regiments. They can recruit Rajput regiments, I believe. If not right now, then later on they will. Let me just check real quick if they can recruit. Yeah, establish the Rajput regiments. So if they take this, then they'll be able to. Now as for the national ideas, for their traditions, they start with plus 15% shock damage, and then plus 30% special unit force limit, so they will be able to build more Rajputs as time goes on. And their first national idea is expand Sapadalaksha. My bad. Now that we have gained independence after so long, the first thing our young kingdom shall do is to expand its borders. The other kingdoms around us are all weak, ripe targets for conquest after all. And that gives province war score cost minus 25%. And then their second national idea is Kavi Bandhava. Despite our martial heritage, we shall not shy away from the arts and culture. Let us always have a dedicated ministry of scholars and poets to guide our Maharaja. And if we have time, compose some ourselves. That gives idea cost minus 10%. And also, this music right now, that's part of the newest DLC. I know it for a fact because the new music from the has a very distinctive sound. If it's a little distracting, I'm sorry, but I enjoy it. But I tried to make it so that, like, the music in the recording is not too loud, but it's still audible, As far as I can tell in Streamlabs, my audio is much louder than the music, but if it isn't in the end, like, I will, for part 1, I will change things around. But, yeah, that's the Chahamanas. The next one are the Chola. I'll take a drink soon. So the Chola, the infamous Chola Empire that stretched across Southeast Asia, is poised to do that again, potentially. And they have plus 10% trade efficiency in their traditions alongside plus 5% discipline. And as their first national idea, they have Kaikolars and Saliars. One of our main exports to foreign countries is our cotton cloth. Our land has been a center of the textile industry since ancient times, and by actively encouraging the weaving industry, we bring prosperity to our country, on top of the large revenues. And then the second national idea is the Steel of Tamilakam. Out of all the forces in our army, the infantry, most particularly the swordsmen, are known as the most permanent and dependable. This is mainly due to the highly priced steel they use in their blades, able to rip through any armor with ease. The first national idea gives plus 10% goods produced modifier, and the second national idea gives plus 15% infantry combat ability. So the Chola are poised to become a very big economic and military powerhouse potentially. We shall see. The third nation submitted by Maki is Trikalinga. So Trikalinga has plus 30% construction time in their traditions and plus 1.5 yearly navy tradition. For their first national idea, they have Sadhabas and Sadhabanis. Departing with their goods in the early hours of Kartik Purnima, these mariners form our dominant merchant class, drawn from all castes. They sail on their boitas to sell their wares far and wide. They are highly esteemed in our culture for their voyages. Got tripped up there for a second. Some of the names, they do trip me up, but I try my best. Oh god. Alright. Second national idea is called Trikalinga Hepati. Trikalinga Adhipati. For the first time in Kalinga's history, we have united the three Kalingas, Kalinga proper, Utkala, and Dakshina, Kosala. No longer shall the land of Kalinga lay divided and unsubmissible. India and beyond shall tremble before the united three Kalingas. The first national idea gives ship trade power plus 30%, and the second one gives morale of armies plus 15%. So Trikalinga is poised to become an internal powerhouse as well as a potential military one if they can reach that plus 15% morale of armies. But Bengala's right here. There's going to be some early tension, I fear. The next nation is the Gahadavalas. Gotta space that out. The Gahadavalas, stationed at Varanasi, have plus 1 land leader shock and plus 1 yearly legitimacy in their traditions. And their first national idea is titled Capital of Honor. Although Varanasi is our favorite of our two capitals, Kanyakubsha, our second capital, has been the capital of many reputable kingdoms and empires. By cementing it as our second capital, we show the true might and power of our dynasty, and that gives yearly prestige plus 1. And the second national idea is court writers and poets. By attracting the best writers and poets of our contemporary age, such as Srihasha, Lakshmidhara, or Bata Kedar, we create a vibrant and splendorous court that will mark our splendid dynasty's place in greater history. Seemingly, Gahadavalas are going to have a lot of economic power from the Ganges River, but they may be a little weaker early on than others. We'll see if they can network their alliances around with their fellow Hindus on the subcontinent. The next one is the Kalyani Chalukyas. And the Kalyani have plus 1 yearly army tradition in their traditions, and then plus 15% government reform progress. Their first national idea is titled Mandalas and Nadu. Our kingdom is divided into mandalas, each with the number of villages in the name. And these are divided into Nadu and Kampanas. Each mandala is under a member of our royal family or other trusted officials such as a feudatory. This gives state maintenance minus 20%. The next national idea is Gavundas. administering the rural areas for the Gaudas or officials. Oh, my bad. Administering the rural areas are the Gaudas or officials. Coming in two types, the people's Gavunda and the Lord of Gavundas. They serve the purposes of representing the people for the ruler, as well as being state appointees for raising militias, and this gives national manpower plus 22.5%. There's a lot of fertile ground in the Deccan. However, they're gonna have to contend with Chola in the south and maybe these other Chalukyas that Mackie submitted. Let's take a look at these up here. So the Chalukyas of Gujarat over here that get plus 60% trade range and plus 15% religious unity. And their first national idea says, "From the ashes of Gurdra, from the fall of the formerly ascendant Pratiharas, a power vacuum has emerged in Western India. It will be unwise of us to not seize the opportunity to establish and grow our new dynasty." And that gives aggressive expansion minus 10%. The second national idea is called Somnath Temple. The site on the confluence of the Kapila, Hiran, and Saraswati rivers has been a pilgrimage site ever since ancient times. As the custodian of this region, we must look to upgrade this mere Tirtha into a grand temple of Hindu worship. And that gives tolerance of heretics plus 3. So early on, Chalukyas, they're pretty weak, I would say, militarily. They don't have really any strong military buffs like others around them, like the Chahamanas. However, once they get later on, they can field a sizable and powerful army. And they'll have the wealth to back it up, definitely. And remember, trade range also extends how far you can reach to get mercenary companies, so that could be useful too. And the last nation submitted by Mackie is New Kosovo. So, New Kosovo, stationed in Mexico, of all places, has plus 0.10 yearly inflation reduction, and plus 10% settler chance in their traditions. And their first national idea gives a free colonist, and it is titled Explore Our New Homes. As we have been suddenly transported to the heart of Mexico, our first order of business is to fully get used to our surroundings, including expansion. The second national idea is called Truly Independent. Being teleported to the Western Hemisphere also means that Serbia has even less reason to hold us down. We stand independent. Morale of armies plus 10%. Honestly, New Kosovo, you expand through here. You see what you can do. You got a bunch of gold. You got a bunch of silver. I want to see you prosper. But, as per Mackie's request, New Kosovo cannot form Mexico. As far as I can tell, I think I eliminated that. So, yeah, there is that. Let's see. The next ones we have are for Kravens. So Kravens made a few meme nations, but we're gonna go through them. We have Sahelanthropus over here in the Middle East. I did not know this was a fucking Metal Gear reference until I looked at the fucking ruler. Skullface, speaker of the Sahelanthropus. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Sahelanthropus gets plus 15% production efficiency and minus 5% technology cost. And then their first national idea is a weapon to surpass Metal Gear. A glorious evolution in the history of warfare. Our great war machine has captivated the hearts of many, who flock under its mighty banner and fight for its cause. Starting from Kabul, we will teach this world a lesson, one it will never forget. And then the second national idea is fully operational. Armaments 100% charged, engines revved and running, magic child subdued. We have gained full control over this machine, and with great control comes great power, and with great power comes world conquests. Oh my god. The first national idea gives morale of armies plus 20%, and the second one gives artillery fire +1. So, like, going forward past the early game, Sahelanthropus is going to be a very, very hard power to keep to fight if they're able to expand. But they only have 2 provinces to start, so they might be easy pickings early on. We'll see. Oh my goodness. So, that's the first nation of Kravens. The second one is Gabagool. I feel like Kravens kind of took Pimento's spot here as a meme extraordinaire. Anyways, the first national ID, or the traditions of Gabagool, are plus 20% galley combat ability, and then ship cannons plus 20%. And the first national idea is David Giorno's Locker. We'll all end up down yonder anyhow. Better put up one hell of a show while on the way, why don't we? And that gives global naval engagement plus 15%. And then the second national idea is walking the plank. We never actually do it, but somehow the idea of us doing it got popular, leading to our men wanting less trouble. Okay then. Discipline plus 5%. Now, we're not going to question it. We're just going to go along with it, okay? Anyway, Gabagool is just primed and ready to be a naval powerhouse. That's pretty much it. Galley combat ability alone. That's huge for the Mediterranean, so we'll see what happens. And then one from Kravens' world building, Abharna. Abharna gets plus 15% production efficiency in its traditions, alongside plus 20% infantry combat ability. And then his first national idea is Universities of the North. Among the most urbanized of the Okran, Abharna is a region packed to the brim with libraries, schools, and other such homes of knowledge. The method... Oh my god. Excuse me. I'll try again. Packed to the brim with libraries, schools, and other such homes of knowledge. The methodical accumulation of those in the Royal University of the great capital helps us greatly. Technology costs minus 5%. And then unshakable resolve. Tempered and sharpened by the civil wars of the lost century, our troops, the defenders of the homeland, cower before nothing. No petty tactic, no cavalry charge, and no amount of intimidation will be enough to even raise a hair on those men's backs. Shock damage minus 15%. Or shock damage received minus 15%. Safe to say, Abharna is going to be very hard to take down early on, especially if they stabilize in like Iberia and don't get picked off by like going for Lisboa or something, or Porto, and then getting into like an early war. Because they don't have as many provinces, so they can't take on like Algarve right away. But that infantry combat ability plus 20%, it's a lot. And then we have Skipetari, which apparently is supposed to be just a meme about Albania entirely. Okay, I'm not sure I understand, but we're gonna go with it. So Skipetari gets plus 15% production efficiency and plus 10% morale damage inflicted. And their first national idea is, this sign can't stop me. I can't read. This applies to national borders too. And that gives ignore zone of control. Fort zone of control. If you need a clarification on that. And then the second national idea is preserve Hoxa's temples. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably not. Many temples to the great Hoxa adorn the land here. Within cities and without, we must not disturb them, even if it comes to our detriment. And that means that they cannot build buildings. So they gotta build as many buildings as they fucking can before they, get that 8th national idea. Good luck, you meme of a nation. And not to be done yet with the memes, we have Indonesia, but with the wrong flag. And Malawi ideas, what could this be? Why, I wonder what it is, Kravens. Let's take a look. Indonesia gets plus 30% governing capacity, and plus 10% morale damage inflicted. Do they also have stateless society? They do. Of course they do. Fantastic. Jesus fucking Christ. So the first national idea is drain the Ural Sea. Draining the Ural Sea will provide our farmers with vast tracts of new land to tend to in the name of our glorious revolution. Production efficiency plus 10%. The second national idea is World Trade Center. New York has long surpassed London as the beating heart of the global capital. All the world's money flows into here and from here to the world. Trade efficiency plus 10%. I don't need to go on. I don't think. Like, I really don't need to go on. These are just... I feel like Kravitz just went to the slot machine, pulled the lever, and just like, yes, I want all of this. So, Indonesia, you're going to be one fuck of a nation to watch. Good God. And Kravitz did not submit a New World nation, so we are going to move on to Pedro's nation as soon as I take a sip. This is a lot of talking. This is going to be like a straight hour of me talking. I hope you all enjoy this. Good God. So Pedro, our Portuguese friend, he has gone for Algarve. He did not do national ideas from what I remember, so Algarve gets minus 10% idea cost in their traditions alongside being able to raid coasts. On top of that, their first national idea is morale of armies plus 15%. They cannot build over their force limit as their second national idea. The third national idea is the cost of advisors with the culture of the ruler is minus 20%. And the fourth national idea is infantry shock plus 1. So Algarve is gonna be kind of iffy. They're not super powerful overall, but they're also, like, if they brawl it out here in Iberia and gain some power, they could end up being seriously powerful even with this limited even though they can't build over force limit. Because we saw last game, I think last campaign, there was a nation in Central Europe that was like really doing a lot of work despite having that limitation of not being able to build over their force limit. I could be wrong, I could be misremembering, but that's what I remember off the top of my head. The next one is Bengala. From what he told me, this is supposed to be like a Muslim state that was almost set up by Portuguese pirates in like the 1500s, 1600s. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I remember at least. Bengala gets plus 30% colonial range. That's different from trade range. And then they get plus 10 global settler increase. Okay, I feel like I got a burp. Excuse me. And let's see. The first national idea is tight blockades, giving blockade impact on siege plus 1. That can be really good if there are forts on the coast. And Bengala has a huge navy, or just a dominant navy at that. Second national idea is colonist plus 1. Third idea is advisor cost minus 15%. And the fourth national idea is naval force limit plus 15%, which, just adds to the naval dominance that Bengala seems to be shooting for. They get a little bit of military buffs later on, but Bengala needs to survive to that point to actually make use of them. We shall see if they are able to. And the third nation is, who else? Who else would it be? For the Portuguese man himself. But Ronaldo got traded to Saudi Arabia, or at least sold to Saudi Arabia or something. And so, he's now in control of Mecca. Al Nasser gets minus 10% culture conversion cost and plus 10 maximum absolutism in their traditions. And their national ideas are plus 1 attrition for enemies, and then plus 1 missionary, and then plus 1% missionary strength, and then minus 10 years of separatism. Minus 10 years of separatism when conquering land. I think we all know why the separatism is there. Obviously, if you're not following Ronaldo and his legacy, you're just like, get the fuck out of here. You don't deserve to be here. So simple as that. Don't give me any of that messy shit. We don't need that. He's going to the United States. He's forgettable now. Simple. Argentina, now that they don't have Messi, it's like they're forgettable too. Yeah, you're always gonna get mad at me for that, but you know, I'll deal with it. Next one are the nations by Viri. So we have Viterkoi. Viterkoi, the carrier from the last campaign and the campaigns before. So he did custom national ideas. So Viterkoi gets plus 15% trade efficiency and plus 20% colonial range in their traditions. And their first national idea is poets and writers. Our people have a strong literary tradition, with our tales and epics with our tales and epics being known in all lands we encounter, with names like Hanai, the father of Viterkoian literature, and Kayan, with her 39 poems, and Biwarsa's epics being known across the globe. Minus 10% idea cost. I'm trying with these names. Please, just bear with me. And then their second national idea is across the Ghanaian Sea. We shall look to the lands beyond our shores and set up shop along crucial ports and isles on the Ghanaian Sea, as this region holds vast potential when it comes to trade with the rest of the archipelago. And that gives global settler growth plus 10. And then the other Viterkoian ideas, they're set up to to have Viterkoi be an actually powerful nation. Like, if Viterkoi takes off in Southeast Asia, they're not gonna be a slouch. It's just gonna take some time to get there. The next one is Kralovac Kraj. That is right up here. This is gonna be a very long video, I can tell. I'm only like halfway through. But it's like the other half of these also don't have national idea or like description, so I can go through them a little bit more quickly. So Kralovac has plus 15% naval morale, and then plus 1 diplomatic reputation. And then the first national idea is founding the Czech Empire. Our ambitions don't stop at Kralovac, but also restoring all our rightful land, whether it be in Slovakia, Subcarpathia, or the Polish separatist republics. Our imperial ambitions rise. Global settler increase plus 15. And the second national idea is King's Hill. Kralovac's name translates to King's Hill, named after Ottokar II of Bohemia, who attended the First Crusade here. This shows the pride this shows the pride behind our Czech claim to the region, named after such an important Bohemian monarch. And that gives morale of armies plus 15%. So Kralovac, they're poised to expand quickly around them. They just needed to make sure not to get caught out by like an early war in Scandinavia, and then they get tied down, or a colony that's on its way gets burned down, stuff like that. But they can dominate the waves too. We'll see. And then next is Fulda. Okay, yeah, this was given national ideas. So minus 10%. Fulda gets a minus 10% development cost and plus 1% missionary strength in its traditions. And then the first national idea is Gifts of Pilgrims. Ever since the burial of Boniface, the apostle of the Germans, be in Fulda, our city has become one of the most significant destinations for pilgrims. The gifts and donations these pilgrims shall go straight to our Abbot, further increasing our power. And that's national tax modifier plus 20%. Second one is Grand Fulda Monastery. St. Stern built Fulda Monastery in 744. Today this monastery forms the heart of our bishopric. He took inspiration from the Grand grandest monasteries of his time, such as Monte Cassino, to build the splendorous site, an inspiration for all our churches. And that's construction cost minus 15%. Volta's gonna have it tough though, because they're sandwiched between a lot. But if they can pull it off, this bishopric is gonna turn out to be very strong. Next one is Aquitaine. I might have not have updated this quite. Okay. I need to check one thing just real quick. From, who is it again? I feel like I'm in church right now. Okay, so the last one from Vieri is indeed Aquitaine. So, Aquitaine, huh? Aquitaine gets minus 10% construction cost in the tradition and plus 2 diplomatic reputation. So they're playing the diplomatic game. The first national idea is Bordeaux wine. Wine from our larger city of Bordeaux is well renowned throughout Europe, with possession of the city and this lucrative export being vital for both us and our allies. Cheers to that, my friend. Goods produced plus 15%. The second national idea is lovely diplomacy. Indeed, many a sovereign would want to marry into our line. Well, some say it's for purely pragmatic reasons, as we hold a vast tract of wealthy land. Who's to say that chivalrous love didn't play a part? And that's improved relations plus 15%. Oh god, I got a cough. You know, I was I thought I unmuted my mic. I pressed the button, but I guess I didn't. So I don't know where I left off at. This fucking sucks. A little bit of a fumble. I wish I could edit that out, but I don't do editing. I think I left off at the start of Akamatsu stuff. I'm just gonna start at yeah, I'm just gonna start at Akamatsu stuff again. So I'll read through what I read already. Because I know when I was doing Choshu, I didn't see the bar running, so it's whatever. It's not that big of a deal. If people want to watch the prologue, it's whatever. Anyways, Watsu Repon Dome has plus 10% manpower recovery speed and plus 1 diplomatic relation. And their traditions and their first national idea is form the Northern Alliance. Although we attempted to stay neutral, the daimyo of Joshu considers all Tohoku daimyo to be their enemies, showing their true intent. Under this cause, the daimyos of Mutsu, Dewa, and Echigo must unite to defeat our western rivals, and that gives land force limit plus 30%. And then the second national idea is patrols of Izo. The many domains of Tohoku have previously been tasked with patrolling and defending the coastline of Hokkaido. Although a big financial burden to many clans, it does provide a valuable lesson to many daimyo on how to properly patrol a vast coastline. Excuse me. This is a lot of talking for me, you know. I thought I'd do a lot of talking with my regular parts. But that's about it for Watsu Reppan. They're going to be a large power in Japan, undoubtedly. That naval combat off own coast plus 3, that's huge. I can't emphasize that enough. That is huge. Next, we have Choshu. And Choshu has plus 15% naval morale, plus 10% land fire damage, or plus 10% land fire damage in their traditions. So land and sea is covered. The first national idea is the time has come. Every year, the elders of our clan ask our lord whether the time to overthrow the Bakufu would come. Every year, we replied, not yet. The shogunate is still too powerful. But 268 beatings later, the time has come. Let the Bakufu fall once and for all. That's province war score cost minus 25%. And the second national idea is for whites policy. Some of the most profitable trades in our domain include rice, paper, salt, and wax. By monopolizing control over these 4 trades, we get significantly more revenue for our coffers, and that gets goods produced plus 15%. Undoubtedly, Choshu is going to be a heavy contender for things. And then the next submission is Dosa. So, Tosa gets plus 22.5% land force limit and minus 1.5% prestige decay in their traditions. And in their first national idea, they have ruse and violence. When we were given the province of Tosa, the retainers of the Chosoga... God, I feel like there's something in my throat. The fuck? The retainers of the Chosokabe clan, the province's former owners, did not like it one bit, while peasants feared exploitation. There was only one way to resolve this issue: by boatloads of heads and crucifixion. I think that's supposed to be crucifixion, but it's crucifixion? A slight misspelling, but it's all good. That's harsh treatment cost minus 30%. And then the second national idea is the Muso Jikiden Eshinryu. Most of our samurai in our domain have grown to become disciples for martial arts, and schools such as Eshinryu or Oguri-ryu are setting their roots in Tosa. Let us teach these skills to Chikodan and build training halls in all the towns. So, some of these names, they trip me up, undoubtedly, but I'm trying. And then the next submission by Akamatsu is Su. Su has +1 tolerance of the true faith, and then plus 15% shock damage, and their traditions. And their first national idea is special treatment. Despite being a Tozama daimyo, Shogun Ieyasu held our first lord, Todo Takatora, in high regard, even being entrusted with the construction of Edo Castle. This high status puts us a step ahead of other Tozama lords, and that gives yearly legitimacy plus 1.5. The second national idea is recovering from disasters. The territory of our domain is often beset by natural disasters, including many big earthquakes and bad harvests. Although these hurt our finances greatly, we now know how to best recover from these events that beset Tsu domain. And that gives global monthly devastation minus 0.15. That's a really rare modifier to see as well, so I like to see it being used. Su is going to have it tough though, because they're sandwiched between powers. Navigate those politics as best you can. You're gonna need to. And then we have Wakamatsu Colony. So Wakamatsu Colony gets minus 30% envoy travel time and plus 15% land fire damage in their traditions. And then, as the first national idea, it has families fleeing Japan. The strife and chaos in the Bakumatsu Jidai means that whoever loses back home will be in great danger from the winner's regime. We should look to get more samurai families from Japan to immigrate to our colony, and that gives settler chance plus 15%. The second national idea is agricultural settlement. Our settlement in California has been designed as an agricultural center one, with our main exports being silk, oil, and tea. We must work to cultivate all the land we have if we want to thrive, and that gives plus 15% goods produced modifier. Definitely an economic powerhouse here in the western part of North America, and one that's going to expand pretty fast if that settler chance works out. And they also got factions, so we'll see what happens. And the last one is this thing. I just call it Ardurg, so you know. Minus 10% land maintenance, and then minus 15% core creation cost. First national idea is the minus 20% core construction cost. The second national idea... Really? He actually did national... No, he didn't. He just modified... He did like vague things in this. Okay, I'm not fucking minus 20% national ID or minus 20% construction cost in the first national idea, minus 30% autonomy change cooldown in the second slot, prestige decay minus 1% in the fourth, plus 70% national garrison growth for the fourth slot. Just. Our seemingly random origin baffles all who meet us, giving us a reputation of mystery and elusiveness. Like, really? I don't want to read slot machine shit. You guys can read it. The next set are from Mr. Q9626. First, we have the Kingdom of Venice. Oh shit! This man already did it. All right, so Kingdom of Venice gets plus 15% infantry combat ability, and then plus 20% galley combat ability. And their first national idea is Merchants of Venice. Venice has been a center of trade in the Mediterranean for centuries and will always remain of high importance to the world's trade. Venetian merchants are the best merchants, and we shall keep trade as our lifeblood even as we migrate to the Orient. That's trade efficiency plus 15% in their first slot. the twin arsenals. Just like how we expanded the Venetian arsenal in Europe in order to outproduce our enemies at the sea, on the sea, so shall we look to build a new arsenal in the Orient, in our capital of Hakata, in order to make the finest warships that have ever sailed the sea. And that's naval force limit plus 15%. So this is keeping in spirit with Venice, original Venice in vanilla EU4, and also taking a few Japanese vibes with them, you know. The next one is called Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia has plus 5% discipline, and then minus 5% development cost modifier. And the first national idea is Gastarbasteri. Our people went to Germany to seek better opportunities in life, and so they got. Today they are far wealthier than those on the homeland ever could be. And that's goods produced plus 15%. And then second national idea is fervent nationalism. Although we left our homes in the Balkans, that does not stop our nationalist traditions. Even in our Berlin apartments, the flame of nationalism inside every Balkaner is not extinguished. Kosovo, Serbia. I can't. Some shit I just can't pronounce, man. I'm sorry. I try. But overall, though, like, Yugoslavia, it seems like it may do well, but it's going to be tough. You got people all around you to contend with. And then we have Languedoc. This is like a semi-slot machine, but it's more organized, you know. Oh, he actually didn't ask. Descriptions, interesting. So Languedoc gets plus 15% settler increase, and then global autonomy change cooldown minus 30%. And then their first national idea is the twin generalities. I don't know how to pronounce that. Languedoc is far too big to be administered as one. At first, the province was divided into many lordships and counties, and then became the land of 3 seneschalties before hosting 2 generalities. The only province to do so. And its governing capacity plus 30%. Second national idea is Legacy of the Troubadours. The name of our province comes from the language our people speak, Occitan. By encouraging literary works in the Lingua de Oc, we maintain the legacy of the Troubadours. When the Lingua de Oc was esteemed across Europe. That's prestige decay minus 1%. So it's going to be tough, but Languedoc is probably going to expand pretty quickly compared to the others around it, if they don't get into an early war. We'll see. And then we have Muram over here. So Muram has plus 15% national tax plus 15% national tax modifier and plus 1 assertion for enemies. And their first national idea is saintly princes. Many princes of Muram have been later canonized as saints, such as Saint Gleb, Saint Prince Constantine the Blessed, and Saints Peter and Fevronia. This saintly legacy permeates the principality to this day, and that gives tolerance of the true faith plus 2. And then the second national idea is next to the Great Steppe. Being on the border of the steppe, we have easier access to the steppe-mounted raiders. While this means we are more in danger from their attacks, this also means that if we befriend them, we can field a stronger cavalry arm than almost anyone else. And that's cavalry cost minus 15%. It's going to be tough though, Muram, because they have to survive being next to Tver and Novgorod, so we shall see what happens, I guess. But if they survive, they could become an eastern powerhouse. Next one, we have the Kachin Independence Army. So the Kachin Okay, I'm going to take a drink real quick because I'm bordering on an hour right now. This is going to be a long fucking prologue, but I'm dedicated to this. Ah, goodness. Can we put on a different song, please? Sound of Summer, please? Because it's summer. The Kachin Independence Army. Attrition for enemies +1 and culture conversion cost minus 15% in the traditions. And then the first national idea is a home Chinese trade. The lands of Kachin have been in a strategic point connecting China to Assam. We should take advantage of this trade route on our lands and encourage it. And that's trade efficiency +15%. A second national idea is mobilizing the Kachin. Whether it be the Kachin levies forming the core of the Burmese army or fighting for our freedom in the KIA, the Kachin have been mobilized for defense frequently. If we remobilize the Kachin, we can field an army that can defend our independence. So the first national idea is trade efficiency +15%, and the second national idea is land force limit +22.5%. Kachin's gonna have it tough though. They have to deal with my boy there, Nanzhao. We'll see what happens, I guess. And then Jain is the last mainland submission from Mr. Q. Jain gets minus 7.5% mercenary cost, and then cavalry cost minus 10%. So, Jain has Legacy of the Reconquista as his first national idea. The Reconquista, the struggle between Christians and Muslims over this peninsula, has significantly shaped the history of Jain and Iberia at large. Being on the southern frontier, the legacy of the many heroes of this time period inspire our soldiers further. And that's morale of armies plus 20%. So once Jain hits this, they're gonna be going off, presumably. Second national idea is Assumption of the Virgin Cathedral. Excuse me. To commemorate Jain's liberation from the Muslims and its new pious Christian owners, we must build towering cathedrals where mosques once stood, and that's tolerance of the true faith +3. The traditions are weak for Jain, but if they can get to this plus 20% morale of armies, they'll probably be safe. Not entirely sure, but we'll see. And then the last one, I like this one personally. I like the theme of special forces. So, special forces is aimed at purely using like all the special units in the game as much as reasonably possible. Special forces gets special unit force limit plus 60%, and they can recruit Kawa. Their first national idea is Cossack Corps. I don't know if these are unique. I don't think they are. No, they are. Okay, they are unique. So, Cossack Corps, tamers of the wild steppe and able frontiersmen. The Cossacks' expertise in shock tactics would make a fine addition in our specialist corps. And Rajput Corps, valiant, well-trained fighters who flock to the battlefield. The Rajputs' excellent infantry tactics would make a fine addition to our specialist corps. And then they get more Kawa and all that later on, but basically just stuff to utilize the special units. So already you can see like they can do Janissaries, Banners, Kawa. The only thing is they need to survive and expand in order to get enough development and economy to use those special things. I almost forgot to. I just looked at the thing. Viri also had a submission in the New World. And that submission is right here. It's the United Nations. So, the United Nations has minus 15% advisor cost in the traditions, as well as +1 promoted cultures. And the first national idea, they get universal primary education. One of our aims is to ensure that every person in the world has at least a fundamental education. A more educated world brings new innovations to further better the planet. That's idea cost minus 10%. Their second national idea is the International Court of Justice. The world court's job is to settle disputes between the nations of the world. By ensuring our status as a neutral arbitrator between the world states, we can avoid wars and keep the world happy and peaceful. So, the United Nations is definitely in that world police sort of role. Not entirely sure how it's going to go, but good luck. And then, who else do we have? We have, the next one is, the next player in their nation is Pimenta with the Dual Confederacy. So they have, their government is also special too. It's the Southern Confederation, and apparently they got special interactions. Not sure why or like what this is normally used for. I'm assuming this is for German stuff because of this, but we'll see. As for meme submissions done by Pimenta, there are no there actually are descriptions this time. Okay, this is new. No. He's done that before for like extra special meme submissions. So the Dual Confederacy cannot build over their force limit, and they have regiment cost of minus 15%. Their first national idea is Trade Federation Blockade. Enact a blockade on Naboo. That'll show those Yankees. And that's embargo and efficiency plus 30%. And then Droid Army for their second national idea. Droids are cheaper to make than it is for those damn Republican Yankees to raise and train their clones. Land force limit plus 22.5%. I think you guys can see where this entire submission goes, you know. So that's the Dual Confederacy. The next one is Syracuse from Secon. Oh no! Wow, Secon actually. I didn't think Secon had localization for these. Shit. People did more in-depth stuff than I thought. Development costs for Syracuse minus 10%, and then technology costs minus 10%, and then their first national idea is planned settlements. The city of Syracuse was founded by Greek settlers from Corinth and Tanea. The city's founding was a planned event with streets and land ownership planned to make settling as smooth as possible. Let us do this when expanding Syracuse any further. And that gives global settler increase plus 10. Patrons of literature and philosophy. A good tyrant must have literary men and bright minds around him. Let us attract the smartest people from across the known world to reside in Syracuse, from Plato to Philoxenus and Philistus. And that's idea cost minus 10%. Definitely, if Syracuse can survive in that position, unlike Thestios from previous campaigns did in that position, Syracuse is going to be, like, popping off. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. They will pop off with these national ideas. But Gabagool is going to be there. So, I don't know. The next one is Katovalani. Katovalani has core creation cost minus 15%, as well as movement speed plus 15% in their traditions. And the first national idea is discipline plus 5%. Emerging from conflict, our people have been accustomed to war ever since we entered Britain, as the many tribes of this island have been in a constant state of conflict. To emerge as the largest tribe in southeastern Britain through this demonstrates our martial prowess. Utilize the land is their second national idea. Britain is perfect for guerrilla warfare. With our knowledge of our force at home and our speedy war chariots, we are in a prime position to harry any enemy that lands on our island into submission. And that's attrition for enemies plus 1. Definitely the most warlike of most, or of any island nation or nation of the Isles that I've seen, at least. So we'll see if they can hold out and make sure they fulfill their dreams and control all of the isles. I don't really know how to pronounce this one, but I'm going to try it. It's either like Lacedemon or Lacedemon. But regardless, this is the Spartan submission, and this has plus 5% discipline and plus 1 or 0.10 militarization of state in their traditions. And the first national idea is Spartiates only. Only the Spartiates, the citizens of Sparta, are eligible to partake in the agoge and military as a whole. This means that we can only recruit our soldiers from a small portion of our population. Disciplined phalanx is their second national idea. While most of the Hellenic world utilizes the phalanx formation, a dense block of soldiers wielding the dory, the pinnacle of heavy infantry, our sheer discipline makes us outmatch any other Greek phalanx. And that's infantry combat ability plus 20%. Oh boy, my voice is getting tired. But I'm liking that there's a lot of depth in these submissions. That is not a joke. I really do love that there's so much depth with these descriptions. But you know, if I was here reading every single one, I would be going into like 2-hour territory. This is already over an hour long. I need to get through these. The next one we have is Nazca. So Nazca has minus 10% construction cost and plus 15% provincial trade power as its traditions. Their first national idea is Kahuachi. The settlement of Kahuachi forms the ceremonial center of our culture. Although its permanent population is not high, the city still serves as a sacred site for our people, and the mass of pilgrims in the city gives it a bustling trading scene as well. And that gives national unrest minus 1.5. In their second slot, they have Puquis. To live in the harsh deserts of coastal Peru, we need water. By tapping into water from below the surface in aquifers, we can use that water for irrigating crops, putting it in reservoirs for later use. It is thanks to the Puquis that life can flourish here. Excuse me, and that is development cost minus 10%. Nazca is going to have it tough, though, since they are going to have to contend with foreigners coming through and eventually, wanting their shit. And unfortunately, they couldn't be Inti because we found out that there was a little bit of a bug with the colonists because the colonists for Nazca was just... It was developing this land only. It wasn't colonizing. So, we'll see. We'll see if making it animist did anything. If Nazca doesn't send out a colonist within like the first month, I will do it for them and send out the colonist for them. The Cyan Menace, 5 submissions, but they don't have descriptions in their national ideas, so we're gonna go through 4 of their first national ideas and see where that lands us. He is the only one to do Zoroastrian as a religious group. So I'm gonna call this Bude because I don't think I can pronounce that really. The traditions of Bude is plus 1 missionary strength, plus 1%, and then minus 15% shock damage received. The first national idea is plus 1 diplomatic reputation, and then second is goods produced plus 15%, and then third is harsh treatment cost minus 20%, and then the fourth one is national tax plus 15%. It's going to be tough, but if Bude can hold out against Glogau, Yugoslavia, Fulda, maybe even Hungary and Croatia, they'll be able to convert the lands around them to Kurzmata. Or, no, not Kurzmata. Kurmazda. Gotta pronounce it right if I can. The second submission is Beledweyne. I'm just gonna say Bele. So Belay has cavalry combat ability plus 10%, and they also may raid coast. And then their first national idea is looting speed plus 30%, and then heavy ship combat ability plus 15%, and then shock damage inflicted plus 10%, and then privateer efficiency plus 15%. It's going to be tough for Beled to really compete with like Somalia and Enaria, but who knows? Like, they might actually profit off raiding coasts and their government reform and actually be able to dominate the Horn of Africa. Do they have any gold? They do not. Okay. Excuse me. And then the next one for the Cyan Menace is Onongolia. Onongolia is a cavalry-based nation, and its traditions has plus 20% cavalry combat ability, plus 10-year global settler increase. And then the first national idea is cavalry fire, plus 1. Second one is cavalry shock, plus 1. The third is core creation cost, minus 15%. And the fourth one is movement speed, plus 10%. They will be thundering around the steppe and Siberia with ease. Presumably, presumably. The next one is Bijin. Bijin has minus 40% envoy travel time. And then possible Manchu banners plus 50%. And the first national idea is diplomatic relations plus 1. And then it's goods produced plus 1 flat. Global settler increase plus 15. And then national unrest minus 1. So Bijin is really going to be striving for those banners. And they're also going to be expanding pretty quickly later on with that plus 15 global settler increase. We'll see if they're able to contend with Onongolia and maybe later Hanzhao or even the Japanese and the Venetians. And it should be noted that he is in the Zoroastrian group, the Cyan Menace is, and so his submissions are within that religious group. And then his last one is Qatarreich. Qatarreich has plus 15 global settler increase and a minus 15% core creation cost. First national idea is max hostile attrition plus 1. Then it's naval force limit modifier plus 22.5%. And then it's movement speed plus 15%. And then it's goods produced plus 1 flat. If they can hold out, then I suspect that Qatarreich is going to expand very, very well over South America. But they might have to contend with a hard-to-beat Nazca. We'll see. They're also iconoclast. So they're not tolerant of heretics at all, but they have more manpower in their own provinces of the true faith. That's what it is. We're almost done here. We have Exfers nations of Ustrundid. I can't... It's hard for me to pronounce this one, but Free Ustruindids. But here we go. And he actually did, it's called descriptions for his. So the traditions are, they can't build over their force limit, but Janissary regiment costs are minus 75%. First national idea is train the Janissaries. Having gained independence, the men continue to train and be ready to cut down those who would attempt to limit our freedom again. That's infantry combat ability plus 20%. The second national idea is freeing the peasantry. Those willing to fight for their freedom will be graciously accepted into our more tolerant state. As such, it is easier to integrate new territories. Core creation costs, minus 15%. We're going to see how these free Janissaries can do. But I'm just curious. Janissaries in True Faith provinces. Interesting. So, I'm hoping that they can use Janissaries to their fullest extent. We shall see. Second to last submission we have is the Fourth Shadow Kingdom by our dearest Senor Mango. Roman Shadow Ideas. The traditions have national tax modifier plus 5% and culture conversion costs minus 5%. The first national idea is Via Peccati. Ever since Alexander the Great's conquest brought the ancient Greek world in touch with Indians, there has been a rare flow of Sramanas to the west. Their words reached the ears of the rare few elites, and thus bloomed the understanding of Roman generational karma. And that's stability cost modifier minus 5%. The second national idea is the eternal sin of Romulus. Since the naming of Rome, our civilization has been drenched in sin. Ever since the murder of Remus and the rape of Sabine, women, our history has been that of darker and darker karma. We bear generational karma, and we must always remember our past. My average monarch lifespan plus 40%. I'm not sure what this is based on, but honestly, it's going to be interesting to see how they do, since they are Mahayana Buddhists, just right in the heart of Europe. So, we'll see how it goes. The last custom nation submission we have is from our dearest Italian duck. And it is the Order of the Duck. And he actually did localization. All right. So, the Order of the Duck. Galley combat ability plus 15% and movement speed plus 15% in those traditions. Excuse me. And then the first national idea is reconquering the world. So, the calamity that made our ancestors, the divine ducks, leave this land is long gone now. Our queen has decided it is finally time to settle the neighboring islands. Global settler increase plus 10. Did he? Okay, I thought he did an immortal ruler, because that's not allowed. Second national idea is no fear of heights. Our people descend from the divine ducks. Being high in the sky is not only second nature, but our eventual goal. As such, we have no need of fancy scaffolding. And that's construction cost minus 20%. I would say that, it's called... There's a lot of room to expand in Southeast Asia, but Sulu and Brunei and Bali and Sunda, they might give some problems. We'll see. But that's it, man. We're ready to start campaign 6, Sectarian Conflicts. But this prologue has gone on long enough. Like, my voice is very tired. I hope you all enjoyed this prologue. This is supposed to just really give an introduction of, like, what the various nations are. As I said before, we're dipping our toes in the water of each nation submitted, just to see what they're about. Are they super militarist? Are they trying to go for a diplomatic game? Are they trying to go for a more money-making game? Or are they just a slot machine nation? You know? A lot of these nations do have depth, though, and I'm really, really happy that so many people put in a lot of time and work into the descriptions of their nations. And even if people didn't put in the time for descriptions, I'm just happy they submitted, because I ultimately really do enjoy the fact that people are participating and trying out new ideas. Now, granted, some ideas are broken and the rules need to be tuned around, but I'm also just happy that, hey, you know, we're trying out new things and people are getting creative with it. You know, they're not just sitting back and like, oh, I want this sort of national idea. I don't care about any sort of depth. I sincerely enjoy what is going on, and especially like people bringing world building nations like Kravens' Abharna. It's super cool that we have that sort of creativity inside these campaigns. anyways, that's gonna really be it for the prologue video. I hope you all enjoyed it, because the next part after this is going to be the first part. I'm gonna try and do shorter parts. I'm gonna try and do like maybe 15-20 year parts. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know who you thought had the most creative nations, and who you thought, or who you think, is going to win out across the world. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in part 1.